Hello everybody, we are back here at the 888 Poker live in London at the Aspers Casino. Now, I think you might recognize this face because it was just slightly more than a month ago we were crowning you champion in this exact event, and I was super excited to see. I was trying to figure out, we just realized it was like more than 500 players here. There's 55 players left. It's obviously going deep in this event, but this event feels very different. So I wanted to just first get your experience from just doing both of these events back to back. Like, how does this one feel compared?
It's a lot different. I think this one's got more sort of minefields to dodge. I found it quite difficult. Some stuff that was going on was hard to sort of get through. It wasn't very standard what was happening, the play, and because obviously there's a mixture of players, it's a bit of a lower buy-in. It was hard to win pots, I felt. So,
which is so interesting when you talk about it's only a slightly smaller buy-in, but I've actually heard lots of players explain that players who are playing at a totally unstandard space actually complicate the game in sometimes a more difficult way than much higher level thinking players.
Yeah, I struggled with working out what people were thinking. I struggled with what sort of hand ranges they could have. It was actually quite difficult, yeah. So I would say the 1K was tougher as in the spots people put you in, but when it comes to reading players, if you can think what the high-level players are thinking, it's a lot harder. I mean, there's a lot of high-level players left in this, but there's a big mixture, so it's difficult.
And it changes all the dynamics. Now, one of the things that you mentioned during your winner interview in December is that you were more consciously pursuing live poker, that this is something that you were actively working on in the last year and something that you were really trying to do more. And obviously, even now with the sort of varied range of the field still being this steep in a tournament so soon, I would say whatever you're doing is working. And I guess I wanted to ask, for like a few little tips or something, like little small things that you could say, hey, if you're looking to shift your game to this live world, this is a few things that really helped me.
I mean, in this tournament, I think, for example, for this sort of buy-in, I think solid style's best. Personally, nothing special, just get the odd bluff through, have a tight image, work on it, then you can get bluffs through and stuff. But I mean, I was finding literally such a low percentage of my bluffs got through. If I was 3-betting light, people weren't folding, and then they do something crazy on the flop when they couldn't really have anything, and you're just like, well, what's this guy doing? But
I have no idea.
I'm not criticising people's play. It felt like people were a lot less scared to bust in this. They were, it felt like the money didn't mean as much to some of them, especially around the bubble. It was like the pressure spots weren't working. So
because there's low pressure.
Yeah, they just didn't. People just didn't care. So fair play to them. They were fearless, and when I was opening, I was just getting jammed on, and then the people just were not afraid to bust at all.
It's like blackjack. This is why I play these low-level tournaments, because it's you have a certain loss where you're oh, this is entertainment, and I'm kind of accepting that I'm just, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. And I do think that changes your range and your spots a lot. But this is something super interesting. I've been listening to a lot of really old podcasts lately, and I was watching some much older videos of you, we're talking 2010, 2011, pre-Black Friday even videos. And this is something that I've noticed was a common conversation that people were having even back then was, oh, these whiz kids are starting to come up, and the level of play, the recreational players are getting better and better, and the better players are getting even better than that. And to think about where we are now, I think it is so interesting that even almost 10 years ago, people were having this sense of, oh, this is getting way harder, this game is getting way harder. But you've clearly been in the game for, more than a decade since then. So I just kind of wanted to get your perspective now on, the poker space.
I think online is seriously tough at the highest levels. I think live, there's still a bit of value involved. Obviously, the higher you go, the harder you get. People are using PioSolver, game theory, optimal. They're studying spots where they think this is the perfect play, but it doesn't work like that in live poker. That's not how it works. People aren't thinking on that level. So unless you're playing the high rollers and stuff like that, it doesn't really matter as much. It still comes down to, playing the player, a bit of feel play, and obviously playing well and stuff. But you know, you can do all the PIO solving you want and play live at this level, and it's not going to get you that far, you know.
And so I guess that leads me to a question that lots of, at least for myself, that I think about quite frequently is that, so you live in the UK, you can play online if you want, but there is some kind of like joie de vivre, like something that you can't explain about playing live and about having a sense and a feeling and a vibe for playing live. And actually Bryn Kenny, who just, you know, shipped the Aussie Millions, he's talked to me about this quite a lot, that there's something about playing live and winning live that is a completely different sense than, say, like bot, like, you know, whatever,
Yeah.
this type of feeling.
Well, when you win live, it feels like a much more bigger achievement. It takes longer than online for the most part, and it feels more real. Like when you're at home and you win a tournament online, it's like, well, you sort of sat in your living room and it's like, there's nothing, nobody's around, nobody saw it anyway. You feel good, but then, I don't know, like alive, it's just a bit more special, I guess, and that's why I guess people like it.
But even beyond winning, in terms of the experience of playing live, I think there was a big like poo-poo on it for a while because it's like it's boring, you can't get in as many hands, all of that. But then in some ways there must also still be some kind of magic that doesn't exist behind the screen.
Yeah, so like in live, if you get a big bluff through, you know, you might get a bit of excitement. Like if you get a bluff through online, do you really get that excited? I mean, you might be multi-tabling and it's just like, well, it's just does nothing. But here, you know, it can be the difference between getting a big stack or in like a bubble position. It's just, it is definitely, there's more to it live. There's a better feeling about it.
Well, finally, I just wanted to, saw that you were sponsored ages ago and was watching videos of you from ages ago, and then seeing you here now as somebody who's been in the game for a long time, who's still grinding, who's still on the game, who's, you know, you're not like, oh, okay, I'm Fedor Holtz like a gazillion $1 million, but you're also like, you're making a living and making a life out of this. I just wanted to kind of like give you the opportunity or the platform to send a message to other poker players who are trying or struggling, who are wanting to be in this, and you know, from someone who's been making it for a while.
My advice would be, if you really love it, love the game, study it, practice, try and get as good as you possibly can. Don't go crazy with like bankroll stuff, don't play stuff you can't afford, don't put yourself in a position where you might get into trouble money-wise. But mostly I would just say just enjoy it. Like enjoy the thrill of the competition, you know, of outsmarting the other player. You know, it's quite exciting to get into someone's mind in a poker sense and take them on, think what he's thinking and then sort of work that out and then do something to counteract his move. It's almost like chess in a way, I guess, but once you get into it in that sense, and also the thrill of winning an all-in, you know, when your tournament, life's at risk, it's just all those little things. But overall, yeah, I guess just practice, but try and enjoy it.
Well, I got such great feedback from your winner interview, and I really appreciated talking to you. I know that for most players, after they bust a tournament, they're angry or steamed or whatever, and I really value. It's very clear to me that tilting or not tilting is part of your game. You're a professional, and I appreciate you talking to us. And really, this was fantastic. So thank you so much.
Cheers.